The massive Galactic Council ship Starweaver tore through the fabric of space, its sleek silver hull emerging from hyperspace near Earth's orbit. Ambassador Du Jin stood at the observation deck, his four-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he watched the blue planet grow larger in the viewport. His pale gray skin reflected the soft ambient lighting as he turned to his scientific advisor, Dr. Hanbin, who was frantically calibrating their scanning equipment. "Another primitive world," Du Jin said with a hint of boredom in his voice. "How many does this make now, Doctor?" Hanbin's large eyes blinked rapidly as he adjusted his instruments. "This is the 47th potential civilization. We've evaluated this cycle, Ambassador." He paused, frowning at his readings. "But something seems odd." Du Jin moved closer to the scanning station. "Odd? What do you mean?" "The gravitational readings from the planet's surface. They're not natural." Hanbin's fingers flew across the holographic display. "There are thousands of localized gravitational anomalies. Some areas show near-zero gravity, others show increased gravitational fields. It's as if..." He trailed off, not wanting to voice his suspicions. "As if what, Doctor?" Du Jin pressed, feeling a slight unease growing in his stomach. "As if they're controlling gravity itself," Hanbin whispered. "But that's impossible. No Type 1 civilization has ever mastered gravitational manipulation. Even we haven't fully achieved it." The Starweaver's communication system crackled to life. A calm, professional voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. "Galactic Council vessel, this is Earth Control. Welcome to our system. We've prepared landing coordinates for you at our main spaceport in Singapore." Du Jin exchanged shocked looks with Hanbin. They hadn't even sent their first contact message yet. The humans had detected them instantly and were already communicating in galactic standard, a language they shouldn't even know existed. The landing was smooth, too smooth. The spaceport's gravity well caught their ship and guided it down with more precision than their own landing systems could achieve. Du Jin felt his anxiety growing as he watched the ground crew using personal anti-gravity units to float around their ship, performing standard arrival protocols with practiced ease. "Ambassador," Hanbin whispered, "their technology level. This isn't possible. Their official classification was pre-spaceflight just 50 years ago. How did they advance so quickly?" Du Jin had no answer. He straightened his ceremonial robes and prepared to meet the Earth delegation. The ship's main door opened, and the humid Earth air rushed in. A small group of humans waited at the bottom of the ramp, led by a man in a simple white coat who wore a smile that sent chills down Du Jin's spine. "Welcome to Earth," the man said, bowing slightly. "I'm Dr. Kim Ji-ho, Chief of Earth's Technological Integration Department. We've been looking forward to this meeting for quite some time." Du Jin tried to maintain his diplomatic composure. "You seem very well prepared for our arrival, Dr. Kim. We weren't aware Earth had advanced to this level of technology." Dr. Kim's smile widened. "Oh, we've had gravity manipulation for centuries. We just didn't see any reason to announce it until we were ready for proper galactic integration." He gestured to the sky, where massive floating platforms carried cargo between towering buildings. "Shall we begin the tour? I'm sure you have many questions." Hanbin couldn't contain himself. "Centuries. But our long-range scans showed no signs of advanced technology. How did you hide it?" "Gravity manipulation includes gravity-based cloaking," Dr. Kim explained casually, as if discussing the weather. "We simply bent light and other scanning wavelengths around our more advanced installations. We wanted to develop at our own pace, without external interference." Du Jin felt his world spinning. This changed everything. A civilization that had mastered gravity to this degree would automatically qualify for advanced status in the Council. They wouldn't be joining as a junior member. They would immediately become one of the most powerful voices in galactic politics. As they walked toward a nearby building, Dr. Kim pointed to a small device on his wrist. "A personal gravity manipulator. Standard issue for all Earth citizens over the age of 12. It allows for flight, personal shielding, and basic matter manipulation. I understand your people are still working on miniaturizing similar technology. The casual revelation of such advanced technology, treated as commonplace by the humans, made Du Jin realize that this first contact was nothing like what they had prepared for. They weren't here to welcome a new primitive species into the galactic community. They were meeting an advanced civilization that had chosen to reveal itself on its own terms. As they entered the building through a gravity-controlled airlock, Du Jin caught Dr. Kim's knowing look. The human's enigmatic smile suddenly made perfect sense. It was the smile of someone who had just changed the galaxy's balance of power with a single revelation, and who knew exactly what that meant for the future of both their species. Han Bin's scanner beeped one final time before shutting down, overwhelmed by the complex gravitational field surrounding them. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't joining the galactic community. They were about to revolutionize it. The gleaming towers of Seoul's Advanced Technologies Institute rose into the morning sky, their surfaces shimmering with an unusual ripple effect that made Du Jin's eyes hurt. Dr. Kim led the alien delegation through the main entrance, where students and researchers moved about their day wearing simple wrist devices that Du Jin had learned were personal gravity controllers. "This is where we train our next generation of gravity engineers," Dr. Kim explained, leading them into a vast central atrium. "Most of our basic research was completed centuries ago, but we're always finding new applications." Du Jin clutched his datapad tighter, still processing the revelations from their landing. Beside him, Han Bin hadn't stopped taking readings since they arrived, his scientific curiosity overriding his initial shock. "Would you like a practical demonstration?" Dr. Kim asked, his ever-present smile growing slightly wider. Before anyone could respond, he tapped his wrist device twice. The change was instant and terrifying. Du Jin felt his feet leave the floor as gravity simply ceased to exist within the building. His datapad slipped from his fingers, floating past his face in a lazy spiral. Around them, human students continued their conversations and work as if nothing had changed, easily maneuvering through the zero-gravity environment. "Impossible," Han Bin whispered, watching his scanning equipment float away. "The energy requirements alone should be." "Oh, we solved the energy problem long ago," Dr. Kim said, executing a perfect zero-gravity flip to face them. "Gravity manipulation actually provides us with most of our power now. The manipulation field creates excess energy as a byproduct." A young human researcher floated past them, carrying what looked like a small sun contained within a gravity field. She nodded politely to Dr. Kim before continuing on her way, the miniature star casting moving shadows across the walls. "That's a gravity-contained fusion reactor," Dr. Kim explained. "A teaching tool for first-year students. We find hands-on experience is the best way to learn." Du Jin tried to steady himself in the weightless environment, his diplomatic training never having prepared him for this situation. "Your people seem very comfortable with this technology." "We learned to control gravity fields as children," Dr. Kim said. "It's as natural to us as walking." He tapped his device again, and gravity returned gradually, letting everyone settle gently back to the floor. "Shall we continue to the outer facilities?" As they exited the building, the true scale of human gravity manipulation became clear. Massive cargo platforms floated between buildings, carrying materials and people without any visible means of propulsion. Construction sites featured workers walking on air, assembling structures from the top down rather than bottom up. Cars zipped along invisible lanes at various altitudes, their gravity drives humming softly. "Our construction methods changed significantly once we mastered gravity," Dr. Kim explained, pointing to a half-finished skyscraper. "We build from the top floor down now. It's more efficient." Han Bin's scientific composure finally broke. "But how did you achieve this level of control?" "The mathematical models alone would require." "We discovered that gravity is actually quite simple once you understand its true nature," Dr. Kim interrupted. "Your species approaches it as a force to be fought against. We learned to work with it, to speak its language, so to speak. A group of school children flew past, laughing as they chased each other through the air. Their gravity controllers looked more like colorful bracelets than advanced technology. Du-Jin watched them disappear around a corner, the implications of what he was seeing becoming clearer with each passing moment. You understand what this means for your position in the council? Du-Jin asked carefully. Of course, Dr. Kim replied. We've studied your political structure extensively. We know that mastery of gravity automatically qualifies us for advanced status. But that's not why we chose to reveal ourselves now. Then why? Du-Jin couldn't keep the question back any longer. Dr. Kim's expression became serious for the first time. Because the galaxy is about to face challenges that will require all of us working together. We've seen things in our gravity research, disturbances in the fabric of space-time itself. We believe it's time for humanity to share its knowledge. A massive shadow passed overhead as a city-sized platform moved through the clouds, its gravity fields distorting the light around it. The alien delegation watched in stunned silence as it disappeared into the distance, carrying what looked like materials for orbital construction. That's another thing we should discuss, Dr. Kim added casually. We've been building in other star systems for quite some time now. We should probably compare maps to avoid any confusion about territorial claims. Du-Jin felt the last remnants of his diplomatic composure crumble. The humans hadn't just mastered gravity. They had built an entire civilization around it, advancing far beyond anything the Council had achieved. And they had done it all in secret, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. As if reading his thoughts, Dr. Kim's smile returned. Don't worry, Ambassador. We're not interested in domination or control. We simply want to help the galaxy advance. After all, gravity connects everything in the universe. It's time we use those connections to bring our peoples together. The tour continued, but Du-Jin barely registered the other technological wonders they were shown. His mind was already racing ahead to the council meeting, where he would have to explain that humanity wasn't just ready to join galactic civilization. They were about to revolutionize it. Lee Sun-mi stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council, her detailed holographic presentations floating behind her. The vast chamber was filled to capacity, with representatives from over 300 species waiting anxiously for her findings. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Distinguished members of the council, she began, her voice steady despite her nervousness. My investigation into human technological development has revealed some startling facts. What we initially believed impossible has been confirmed. Humans solved the gravity equation over 500 years ago. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. A representative from the Centauri system stood up, his crystalline form catching the light. That's absolutely impossible. We would have detected such advancement. Sun-mi activated the first hologram, showing Earth's gravitational field. That's where you're wrong. Humans developed their gravity technology in response to Earth's unique conditions. Their home world has stronger gravity than most habitable planets, which forced them to think differently about the problem. She switched to the next display, showing ancient human documents. They didn't try to fight against gravity like most species do. Instead, they learned to work with it. Their first breakthrough came from studying what they called quantum entanglement in relation to gravitational fields. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers as she displayed human children playing with gravity controllers. They've integrated this technology so completely into their society that it's considered basic education. Their children learn gravity manipulation alongside reading and writing. A military advisor from the Rigel sector jumped to his feet. Are you saying they've had this capability the entire time we've been watching them? How did we miss this? Sun-mi changed the display to show Earth's gravity-based cloaking system. They developed methods to hide their advancement. By bending gravity fields around their major installations, they made their civilization appear primitive to our long-range scans. They wanted to develop without interference. She paused to let this sink in before continuing. But here's what's truly remarkable. They've gone far beyond simple gravity manipulation. They've used it to solve problems we haven't even considered. The next hologram showed human gravity fusion reactors, gravity-based computing systems, and gravity-controlled environmental systems. They don't just control gravity. They've built their entire civilization around understanding and using it. Their power generation, computing, transportation, construction, even their medical technology. It's all based on gravity manipulation. A scientific advisor raised 3 of their tentacles. What about the energy requirements? The calculations needed to maintain such control should be enormous. That's another breakthrough they achieved, Sun Mai replied, showing detailed technical diagrams. They discovered that gravity manipulation, when done correctly, actually generates excess energy. They're not fighting against nature. They're working with it in ways we never imagined possible. The council chamber fell silent as she displayed her final findings. And there's more. They'd been exploring other star systems using gravity-based faster-than-light travel. They have colonies and research stations that we never detected. Their sphere of influence is significantly larger than we initially believed. An elder member of the council leaned forward. What are the military implications of this technology? Sun Mi's expression grew serious. Based on my analysis, their defensive capabilities are beyond anything we could counter. They can create gravity shields that nothing can penetrate, gravity weapons that could tear ships apart, and defensive systems that make their installations virtually impregnable. She quickly continued before panic could spread. However, all evidence suggests they have no hostile intentions. They chose to reveal themselves now because they want to share their knowledge. They believe the galaxy faces challenges that will require cooperation between all species. The head of the council raised a hand for silence as the chamber erupted in worried discussions. Council Scientist Lee, what is your final assessment of the situation? Sun Mi straightened her shoulders. Humans aren't just ahead of us technologically. They're operating on a completely different level of understanding. They don't see gravity as a force to be overcome, but as a fundamental aspect of reality that can be worked with and shaped. Their children understand concepts that our top scientists are still struggling to grasp. She displayed one final image, a simple human gravity controller. This device, which they give to their children, contains more advanced technology than our best research facilities. We're not dealing with a newly advanced species. We're dealing with a civilization that has quietly revolutionized our understanding of the universe itself. The chamber descended into chaos as the implications became clear. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted overnight, and nobody had seen it coming. As Sun Mi gathered her research materials, she couldn't help but smile slightly. The humans had achieved something remarkable, and now they were ready to share it with the galaxy. The real question wasn't how they had done it, it was what would happen next. As she left the chamber, she could hear the beginning of what would become a galaxy-changing debate. The age of gravity had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The council chamber vibrated with angry voices as hundreds of alien representatives argued at once. The grand circular hall, usually a place of measured debate, had transformed into an arena of chaos. Coordinator Jin Wu slammed his fist on the podium, his scales flaring with agitation. We cannot sit idle while humans possess such power. Jin Wu's voice boomed across the chamber. Their technology gives them an insurmountable advantage. They must be contained before they decide to use it against us. Ambassador Park Minji rose from her seat, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to Jin Wu's aggression. Contained. They hid their advancement for centuries because they feared exactly this kind of reaction. If we move against them now, we'll only prove their concerns were justified. In the Earth delegation's booth, Yoon Jae-yun sat quietly, her fingers moving across her quantum tablet surface. The device floated slightly above her hands, held in place by a personal gravity field. Every few minutes, she would glance up at the arguing council members, make a note, then return to her work. Look at her. Jin Woo pointed accusingly at Jae-yun. They don't even show proper concern for these proceedings. Their arrogance is clear. Jia finally looked up, her expression peaceful. We are not arrogant, Coordinator Jinwoo. We are patient. We've had centuries to come to terms with our technological advancement. You've had less than a week. The chamber fell silent at her words. Jia stood, her simple white uniform seeming to shimmer as her personal gravity field adjusted to her movement. Humanity could have revealed ourselves at any time. We chose now because we've detected gravitational anomalies at the galaxy's edge. Anomalies that concern us. Before she could continue, a representative from the Pleiades Confederation interrupted. Threats? Are you threatening the Council? No, Jia replied softly. We're trying to warn you. There are things out there that we've observed through our gravity sensors. Things that your technology cannot detect yet. We need to work together. Park Min-ji seized the moment. This is exactly why we should embrace cooperation. Humanity isn't offering dominance. They're offering partnership. Partnership. Jinwoo scoffed. They deceived us for centuries. They built colonies in secret, developed technologies beyond our understanding, and now we're supposed to trust them. Jia tapped her tablet, and suddenly every delegate's personal display lit up with new information. These are the gravitational disturbances we've detected. They're growing stronger. We estimate less than 50 years before they reach populated space. The chamber erupted again as delegates reviewed the data. Park Min-ji studied her display intently before addressing the council. These readings, they suggest spatial distortions on a massive scale. How long have you been tracking them? Nearly 200 years, Jia answered. It's one of the reasons we developed our technology in secret. We needed to understand what we were seeing without outside interference or panic affecting our research. Jinwoo's scales had paled as he reviewed the data. If these readings are accurate. They are, Jia confirmed. And now you understand why we chose this moment to reveal ourselves. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to help protect it. The council's head elder raised his crystalline form, commanding silence. We face two choices. We can waste time arguing about humanity's past actions, or we can focus on the future they're warning us about. Ambassador Park, what is your recommendation? Park Min-ji stood straighter. We should establish an immediate technological exchange program. If these threats are real, we need humanity's understanding of gravity manipulation to prepare our defenses. And you would trust them with our security. Jinwoo demanded, but his voice had lost some of its earlier force. Jia activated another display, showing Earth's gravity-based defense systems. We already protect 15 Council worlds with our technology. You just didn't know it. Those natural gravitational anomalies your ships avoid. They're our early warning systems. The revelation sent new waves of shock through the chamber. The head elder's crystalline form pulsed with concerned light. You've been protecting us without our knowledge. Yes, Jia said simply, because that's what neighbors do. We may have hidden our advancement, but we never ignored our responsibility to the galactic community. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just advanced beyond the Council's understanding. They had been quietly standing guard over the galaxy all along. Park Min-ji seized the moment. I move for an immediate vote on establishing a joint Human Council technology exchange program. As the voting began, Jia returned to her notes. She had experienced this moment 1,000 times in simulation, but the reality was different. The Council's unity was fracturing, yes, but perhaps that wasn't a bad thing. Sometimes old structures needed to break for new ones to emerge. Jinwoo watched the voting numbers climb in favor of cooperation, his scales slowly returning to their normal color. The political landscape of the galaxy was changing before his eyes, and for once, he had no more arguments to make. The future had arrived, whether they were ready or not. The observation deck of Lunar Research Station offered a breathtaking view of Earth hanging in the black void of space. Director Kang Tae-hyun stood before the assembled alien delegation, his white uniform crisp against the stars behind him. The station itself was a marvel of gravity engineering, floating above the lunar surface without any visible support. "Welcome to humanity's first major gravity research facility," Ta-Hyun announced, gesturing to the vast complex below. "We established this station 400 years ago to test our early gravity manipulation theories." Council Military Advisor Im Dong-hyuk watched with barely concealed awe as researchers moved through space without suits, protected by personal gravity fields that contained their own atmospheres. His military training told him he was watching something that changed everything about space warfare and defense. "Let's begin with basic applications," Ta-Hyun said, activating his wrist controller. A bubble of altered space appeared in the center of the room. "This is a standard gravity containment field. We use these for everything from waste management to fusion control." To demonstrate, he tossed a metal bar into the field. It stopped midair, then began to break down into its component atoms. "Complete molecular control through gravitational manipulation. We can break down or build up any material we want." Dong-hyuk's hand instinctively moved to his weapon. The military applications were staggering. "And offensive capabilities?" he asked carefully. Ta-Hyun smiled. "We'll get to that. First, let's look at defensive systems." He pressed another control, and a shimmering field surrounded the observation deck. "Standard gravity shield. Nothing physical can penetrate it. Energy weapons are absorbed and their energy is redirected." One of the alien scientists raised a hand. "The power requirements must be enormous." "Actually, no," Ta-Hyun replied. "The shield generates its own power through gravitational fluctuation. The stronger the attack, the more power it produces to defend against it." He led them to another section of the station, where researchers were constructing what looked like a small moon. "Gravity manipulation lets us build on any scale we want. This will be a new research station. We'll complete it in about 3 days." Dong-hyuk watched in amazement as massive sections of the station moved through space without engines, guided by gravity fields. Workers walked on nothing, assembling structures with their hands while floating in space. "Now for the military applications," Ta-Hyun said, noting Dong-hyuk's interest. "Though we prefer not to focus on weapons, we have developed defensive capabilities." A small drone appeared, surrounded by a gravity field. "Standard gravity torpedo. It creates a localized gravity well that can tear apart any known material. We've never had to use them in combat, thankfully." He gestured to a larger installation. "And this is our planetary defense system. It can create a gravity well strong enough to redirect anything from asteroids to invasion fleets. We have these protecting every human world." Dong-hyuk felt his professional composure slipping. Everything he knew about military strategy was becoming obsolete before his eyes. "And space-time manipulation." Ta-Hyun's expression grew serious. "That's why we really brought you here today." He activated a larger display showing the galaxy. "We've detected massive space-time distortions approaching from beyond the galactic rim. We think something is coming." The display zoomed in on the distortions, showing massive tears in the fabric of space itself. "Our gravity sensors can detect them, but even our technology can't fully analyze them. That's why we need to work together." He led them to the station's core, where a massive sphere of swirling energy floated in a gravity containment field. "This is our latest prototype, a gravity wave detector capable of scanning the entire galaxy. But it's still not powerful enough. We need the Council's help to upgrade it." Dong-hyuk watched researchers walk through gravity fields that should have torn them apart, manipulating forces that his people considered almost magical. "Why reveal all this now? Why show us your full capabilities?" "Because what's coming doesn't care about military secrets or political power," Ta-Hyun replied. "It's going to affect all of us. We need to be ready." He activated one final display, showing a simulation of entire solar systems being torn apart by gravity distortions. "This is what our models predict will happen if we don't find a way to stop it. The alien delegation watched in silence as the simulation played out. Humanity hadn't just mastered gravity. They had seen something coming that threatened the entire galaxy, and they had spent centuries preparing for it. "We're not showing you this to frighten you," Ta-Hyun said softly. "We're showing you because we need your help. Humanity's gravity technology is advanced, yes, but it's not enough on its own. We need the Council's resources, your different perspectives, your unique technologies." As the demonstration concluded, Dong-Hyuk remained behind, staring at Earth through the gravity-reinforced windows. His report to the Council would change everything. Not just about their military assessment of humanity, but about the very future of galactic civilization. Ta-Hyun joined him at the window. "Impressive view, isn't it? Your people could have conquered us at any time," Dong-Hyuk said quietly. "We could have," Ta-Hyun agreed. "But that's not who we are. We didn't master gravity to dominate. We did it to explore, to build, to protect. And now to save everything we all hold dear." Professor Choi Hai-jin stood in the grand auditorium of the newly established Galactic Cultural Exchange Center in Singapore, watching as students from 20 different species attempted their first gravity manipulation exercises. The sight brought a smile to her face. Just 6 months ago, many of these species had been calling for humanity's containment. "Gentle movements," she instructed, her voice translated instantly by the gravity field communication system. "Think of gravity as a dance partner, not an opponent. Let it guide you." A young luminary student, their crystalline form glowing with concentration, managed to create their first stable gravity bubble. The achievement was met with a round of applause from their classmates. Ambassador Song Jae-in, watching from the observation deck, nodded in approval. "They're learning faster than we expected," Jae-in remarked as Hai-jin joined him during the break. The luminary especially seemed to have a natural aptitude for it. "Their crystalline biology gives them a unique perspective on gravitational fields," Hai-jin explained. "They can sense the subtle variations that other species have to learn to detect. In some ways, they're already ahead of where humans were when we first started." Below them, the students mingled during their break, sharing experiences and cultural insights. A group of Centaurian engineers was deep in discussion with human instructors about integrating gravity technology into their existing power systems. Nearby, a team of Regelian medical students practiced using gravity fields for surgical procedures. "It's not just about the technology," Hai-jin continued. "Every species brings their own understanding, their own innovations. The Centaurians have already found applications we never considered." Jae-in smiled as a student accidentally created a small anti-gravity field that sent their lunch floating toward the ceiling. "The fear is fading. Even the military hardliners are starting to see the benefits." "That's because we're being completely open," Hai-jin said. "No secrets, no hidden agendas, just genuine sharing of knowledge and culture." They walked through the center's halls, passing classrooms where alien students learned Earth history alongside humans studying alien cultures. The walls themselves were held up by gravity fields, allowing the building's architecture to shift and change based on the needs of its occupants. A group of children from various species played in a specially designed gravity playground, learning to control their personal gravity fields through games and challenges. The sight of young ones from formerly hostile species playing together was perhaps the most promising sign of all. "We've started implementing the gravity-based transportation systems on 12 council worlds," Jae-in reported. "The impact on their societies has been remarkable. Cities are being redesigned, energy crises are ending, and pollution is dropping to negligible levels." Hai-jin nodded. "And how are the deep space monitoring stations coming along?" "The combined human luminary crews are working well together. Our crystalline sensitivity to gravity fields, combined with your technology and experience, we're seeing things we never imagined possible." They paused to watch a demonstration where human and alien artists collaborated on a gravity sculpture, using controlled fields to shape light and matter into impossible forms. Art and science were merging in ways that neither culture had achieved alone. There have been challenges, Hai-Jin admitted. Some species are struggling with the biological adjustments needed for regular gravity manipulation. Others are dealing with social upheaval as their technological bases shift. But they're adapting, Jae-in observed, each in their own way at their own pace. That's the beauty of this program. It's not about forcing change. It's about enabling it. A small commotion drew their attention. A Rigelian student had successfully created their first stable gravity shield, but with an unexpected modification that made it more efficient than the standard human design. Students and teachers gathered around, excited by the new discovery. See, Hai-Jin smiled. This is exactly what we hoped for. They're not just learning our technology. They're improving it, adding their own insights and innovations. The day continued with more classes, more breakthroughs, and more moments of cultural connection. In the evening, the center hosted a celebration featuring food, music, and traditions from dozens of worlds, all made possible by the careful application of gravity technology. As Hai-Jin prepared to end the day's sessions, she received an alert from one of the deep space monitoring stations. The gravitational anomalies they had been tracking had changed pattern. She shared a meaningful look with Jae-in. Their work was becoming more urgent. "We need to accelerate the program," she said quietly. "The threat is growing faster than predicted." Jae-in's crystalline form pulsed with determined light. "We will be ready." Together, looking out over the diverse gathering of species learning, growing, and working together, Hai-Jin felt hope. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for what was coming, but now they weren't facing it alone. Each day brought new breakthroughs, new friendships, and new possibilities. The fear that had initially greeted humanity's revelation was being replaced by something stronger, unity. As she watched a human child helping a young luminary adjust their gravity controller, Hai-Jin knew they were on the right path. The bridges they were building now would help them all face whatever was coming from the dark between the stars. Dr. Nan Hyun-soo stood in his orbital office aboard the Galactic Unity Station, watching ships from 100 different species navigate through the carefully maintained gravity lanes around Earth. 10 years had transformed humanity's home system into the bustling heart of a new galactic civilization. Advanced gravity-controlled vessels of all shapes and sizes moved in perfect harmony, their paths guided by the intricate web of gravitational fields that humans had perfected centuries ago. Chancellor Kim Dae-yeon's voice came through his communication field. "Dr. Nam, the final vote is complete. The Council has approved the expansion of the Deep Space Detection Network." Hyun-soo smiled as he watched a massive luminary crystal ship pass by, its crew combining their natural gravity sensitivity with human technology to create something entirely new. How did the military delegation react? Coordinator Jinwoo himself sponsored the proposal. Dae-yeon replied, amusement in her voice. Times have certainly changed. Indeed they had. Below, Earth glowed with the light of a fully realized Type II civilization. Orbital rings circled the planet, connected by gravity tethers that made space travel as simple as taking an elevator. The once secret human colonies now served as training grounds for species learning to harness gravitational forces. The first wave of anomalies will reach inhabited space in 30 years, Hyun-soo noted, pulling up the latest data from the combined human-alien monitoring network. "Are we ready?" "More ready than we would have been alone," Dae-yeon answered. "The luminary gravity sensors, combined with Centaurian energy systems and our technology, we're seeing further and clearer than ever before." A group of alien children flew past his window in personal gravity bubbles, part of the new integrated education system that taught young beings from all species how to understand and control gravitational forces. Their laughter, transmitted through the gravity fields, brought another smile to his face. "The council session begins in an hour," Dae-yeon reminded him. "They're expecting your report on the new defense systems." Hyun-soo gathered his data tablets, each floating perfectly arranged around him in a gravity-controlled orbit. The council chamber itself was a testament to how far they'd come. A massive structure held in space by interwoven gravity fields, where representatives from every known species could meet as equals. As he made his way through the station, he passed laboratories where human scientists worked alongside alien researchers, each bringing their unique perspectives to the challenge of understanding the universe. The fear and suspicion of a decade ago had given way to collaboration and shared purpose. Dr. Nam, a young Rigelian researcher, called out, "We've made a breakthrough in the gravity wave communication system. The luminary crystal integration worked better than we expected." This was what humanity had hoped for when they finally revealed themselves. Not domination, but partnership. Every species brought something unique to their shared civilization. Humans had mastered gravity, yes, but others had mastered different fundamental forces. Together, they were achieving things that would have been impossible alone. The council chamber was already filling up when he arrived. Chancellor Kim Da-yeon stood at the central podium, her gravity-enhanced uniform subtly shifting to reflect the formal nature of the proceedings. Around her, representatives from hundreds of species took their places in gravity-suspended pods that accommodated their various biological needs. 10 years ago, Da-yeon began, we stood in this chamber as strangers, divided by fear and suspicion. Today, we stand as partners, united in purpose. Hyun-soo activated his presentation, showing the latest data from the Deep Space Monitoring Network. The gravitational anomalies were clearer now, thanks to the combined efforts of multiple species. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. Our civilization has advanced more in the past decade than in the previous millennium, Da-yeon continued. Not because of human technology alone, but because we finally learned to work together. The chamber hummed with agreement. Even former skeptics like Jin-woo nodded in approval. The gravity technology that had once caused such fear now served as the foundation for their united civilization. As Hyun-soo prepared to deliver his report, he looked out at the assembled representatives. Humans sat alongside aliens, their differences forgotten in the face of greater challenges and opportunities. They had become something more than just a collection of species. They had become a true galactic civilization. The anomalies are still coming, he began, but thanks to our combined efforts, we're no longer facing them blind. Human gravity technology, luminary sensitivity, Centaurian energy systems, Rigelian computing. Together, we're stronger than any of us could have been alone. The presentation showed their new defensive capabilities, the result of a decade of cooperation and shared knowledge. Gravity shields now protected every inhabited world, while joint research teams pushed the boundaries of what was possible. As the session concluded, Hyun-soo returned to his office. Earth shone below, no longer a secret advanced civilization, but the heart of something greater. Humanity had found its place among the stars not by conquering or competing, but by sharing and cooperating. The gravity lanes around Earth grew busier as ships from across the galaxy arrived for the next round of technological exchange programs, each bringing their own knowledge, their own innovations, their own piece of the puzzle that would help them all face whatever was coming from the depths of space. This was humanity's true ascendance, not rising above other species, but rising with them, building a future together that none of them could have achieved alone. As Dr. Nam Hyun-soo watched the endless flow of traffic through the gravity lanes, he knew they had made the right choice in revealing themselves. The galaxy wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, united by the very force that connected all things, gravity.